Breaking news. The Nordic countries have formed a joint air force against Russia, and it's sending shockwaves through the military world. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into this game-changing event and explore what it means for Europe's security, the Arctic region, and Russia's military strategy. How will Nordic air power look from a Russian perspective? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to In Bello, where we're covering one of the most significant military developments outside of the Ukraine war, the formation of a joint air force by the Nordic countries to counter Russia's growing military ambitions. The creation of this new alliance has far-reaching implications for the security of Europe and the Arctic region, and it's already causing Russia to rethink its operational plans. The air chiefs of the Nordic Air Forces of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland announced in a joint statement that the nations have taken steps to strengthen cooperation among their individual air forces to strengthen the region's defenses. The joint declaration's main goal is to increase air force cooperation among the four Nordic nations, sparking actual joint projects to forge a robust regional air defense. The goal is to improve coordination among Nordic air forces so they can work together in any circumstance. The declaration's embedded concept for air defense operations envisions joint Nordic Air Force cooperation for combined air operations and suggests creating an integrated management structure for organizing, planning, and training. A flexible and long-lasting support system, joint air situational awareness, and joint training and exercise activities between the four Nordic air forces are also anticipated by the concept. The countries involved have forces of quite different sizes and compositions, and they will need to figure a few things out before the goal is accomplished. One challenge that must be overcome is the combination of different aircraft these nations maintain. The Norwegian F-35s are currently bound to large, prepared airfields with a significant amount of logistical support. The Swedish Gripens and Finnish F-18 Hornets, on the other hand, are conceptually a part of a dispersal doctrine and able to operate from roads and improvised airstrips. How these concepts can be fused together will be interesting to see. The Royal Norwegian Air Force's commander, Major General Rolf Fallen, sees the concept as a foundation for establishing a joint Nordic center for air operations that could also accommodate the United States and Canada under a single command structure. A regional initiative for a joint air command of NATO's northern flank is clearly of interest. We have a lot to learn from one another and have a good understanding of the circumstances in the High North. This will be a large combat force that needs to be coordinated with almost 250 modern combat aircraft in total, Fallen said. Russia has traditionally been prepared to fight to defend their strategic nuclear submarines on the Kola Peninsula by projecting power on the seas and potentially taking parts of northern Norway and fighting NATO on Norwegian soil. Sweden and Finland used to be neutral countries, and Russia could rely on a secure flank. Those preconceptions suddenly changed when Finland joined NATO last week, and changes yet again with the inclusion of Sweden and Denmark in this joint air command. Suddenly, Russia needs to take into account an enormous front line, and the fact that NATO assets can appear anywhere along the Russian border. This includes the latest and most modern stealth fighters, including the F-35. Several European countries have purchased the F-35 stealth fighter, and in just a few years, the number of fifth-generation stealth aircraft will be over 600 jets in Europe. With the formation of a joint air force in the Arctic region, it will mean over 150 F-35s gathered on the Russian frontier, with Finnish, Danish, and Norwegian jets all poised to fly along Russian borders. What does this mean for the Russian Doctrine? With a focus on upholding its territorial integrity and defending its interests, Russia bases much of its military strategy on a doctrine of deterrence. Russia has upgraded its military equipment, created new weaponry, and boosted its military presence in strategic areas like the Arctic in recent years. The creation of a joint force in the north, however, forces the Russians to rethink their operational plans. The new alliance strengthens and unifies the region's defense front against Russia, potentially reducing its ability to project military force there. At the very least, it means Russia will need to factor in more weapon systems along the entire front. This means their military will need to prepare and gather intelligence on the weapons carried by F-35s, JAS Gripens, F-18 Hornets, and F-16 Fighting Falcons. This alone presents a dilemma for Russian forces, as they are largely bound to operations in Ukraine, and we imagine they have few assets remaining to take care of training against such a combined force of different aircraft. The Joint Air Force formation has received a mixed response from Russia. On the one hand, Russian government representatives have downplayed the significance of the new alliance, referring to it as a routine exercise in military cooperation. However, some Russian officials have expressed concern that the Joint Air Force might pose a threat to their country's security and heighten regional tensions. Russia has been re-evaluating its military plan and considering fresh strategies to confront the new alliance in response to the formation of the Joint Air Force. For instance, to gauge its readiness, Russia has been spending money on new air defense systems, expanding its military presence in the Arctic, and holding drills. A large combined command and control exercise is currently underway, which includes air and naval forces in the Barents Sea. Putin also announced the formation of a new military district around St. Petersburg in direct response to the inclusion of Finland into NATO. The creation of the Nordic Joint Air Force poses a serious military challenge to Russia and is likely to have significant repercussions for regional security. It will be interesting to see how Russia adjusts its military strategy to the new situation of a more cohesive defense front against it as the situation develops. NATO and the security of Europe will also be significantly impacted by the Nordic Joint Air Force. The alliance increases the region's capacity for defense against a potential military threat from Russia and may eventually lessen the need for NATO's assistance. The United States, who bears most of the expenses for NATO, could be relieved of some duties in a crisis, as the Nordic countries are well trained and equipped to coordinate and cooperate in the opening phases of a war. Furthermore, the new alliance might serve as a model for other nations to create their own regional defense alliances, enhancing Europe's defense capabilities. It's crucial to realize that it's not just a reaction to Russian military expansion in the area. The alliance also reflects the Nordic nations' dedication to regional security and their growing level of cooperation and integration in multiple domains, from politics to military. Overall, the Nordic Joint Air Force's establishment will have a significant impact on the security of the area and the balance of power in the Arctic. It will be interesting to see how this new alliance affects regional dynamics and Russia's position in the region as the situation develops. Thus, the establishment of the Nordic Joint Air Force is a notable change to the security environment in Europe and the Arctic. The new alliance increases regional defense capabilities, possibly reduces Russian influence in the Arctic, and poses a military strategy challenge for Russia. How do you think the Swedish Gripens can complement Finnish Hornets and Norwegian F-35s in a crisis? And what should Russia prepare for? Let us know what you think in the comments below. For more in-depth analysis of current affairs and military technology, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.